There's a lot of talk right now about the 2021 or 2022 NFL draft being the worst ever at the quarterback position. Well, here's the thing. The 2021 draft actually did have multiple QBs make a Pro Bowl, and everyone knew the 2022 quarterback class was weak before the draft even took place. No one was really banking on any of those QBs being franchise guys. However, there was a quarterback class that was extremely hyped up.
He's got the physical skill set better than any quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
A kid with his size and his arm strength, certainly John Elway-like.
But ended up having 0 of its 11 QBs drafted make a Pro Bowl, let alone be a somewhat serviceable NFL starting quarterback. So let's find out just how historically bad the 2007 quarterback class was. Leading up to the draft, the big debate was which quarterback should go first overall, Jamarcus Russell or Brady Quinn. Russell, the LSU quarterback, was loved by scouts because of his large stature, cannon arm, and unreal athletic ability. On the other hand, Brady Quinn had an outstanding 4 seasons at Notre Dame. He was a 2-time Heisman finalist too. For the majority of his senior season, Quinn was viewed almost as a lock to go #1 overall. That is, until he went head-to-head with the Jamarcus Russell-led LSU Tigers in the Sugar Bowl. Russell outplayed Quinn by a large margin and was then placed into the conversation for the #1 overall pick. Draft day arrived, and the Raiders ended up drafting Jamarcus Russell first overall. But his NFL career got off to a rocky start. The quarterback held out for a larger contract, resulting in him missing all of training camp and the first week of the regular season. As a result of not joining the team till week 2, Russell was behind and had a lot of things to learn before he could play. Jamarcus ended up not making his first NFL start till the last game of the season. Heading into 2008, his second season in the league, Russell was named the Raiders starting QB. But he didn't play well, winning only 5 of the 15 games he started while completing just 53% of his passes for 2,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Jamarcus entered the following season as the starter yet again, but after 9 games, he had won just 2, completing only 46% of his passes for 1,000 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and 5 lost fumbles. Russell was known to have poor work ethic, so the Raiders coaches decided to set him up with a test. They sent him home with some film, and when he came in the next day, they asked him which plays on the tape he would like to run. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm comfortable running any of them." But the thing was, the tape was blank. There was no film on them, and he was caught in a lie. In 2010, Jamarcus showed up to Raiders minicamp extremely out of shape, weighing nearly 300 pounds. Soon after, the team released him, and he never signed to another NFL team again. The Lions held the #2 overall pick in the 2007 draft, and some expected them to select Brady Quinn, but they went another direction, drafting wide receiver Calvin Johnson. The Browns held the next selection, and it was like, oh, okay, this is where Brady Quinn's gonna get picked. But nope, Cleveland drafted offensive lineman Joe Thomas. So this is when Quinn's draft day slide truly began. A quarterback-needy team, the Dolphins had the 9th overall pick. But when they drafted Ted Ginn Jr. instead of the signal caller, fans in attendance gasped, booed, then started chanting, "Brady, Brady."
Since Dan Marino retired, we haven't had a quarterback. 10 starters for the Miami Dolphins, and we pass up on him. These Dolphins better make up for him in the 2nd round because I'm disgraced. I'm ready to leave.
Quinn's draft day slide eventually stopped when the Browns traded back into the 1st round to select him 22nd overall. Heading into the regular season, Brady was the Browns' 3rd-string quarterback. But when their starter was traded after a Week 1 loss, Quinn moved up to the #2 spot. With new starter Derek Anderson leading Cleveland to a 10-5 record in 2007, Quinn was named his backup heading into 2008. But after the team went 3-5 to start the season, Brady Quinn was named the starter for the team's Week 9 matchup. In his first NFL start, Quinn completed 65% of his passes for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Despite the team ultimately losing, it was a fantastic debut for the young QB. The following week, the Browns did end up getting the win with Quinn under center, but it came at a cost. The second-year QB broke the index finger on his throwing hand during the game. He tried to play through it the following week, but couldn't, and ended up having to undergo season-ending surgery. When a new coaching staff was hired the next year, they decided to have Quinn and Anderson battle for the starting spot yet again. Quinn won the job, but was benched after going 0-3 to start the season while throwing just 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. However, the team didn't play much better with Anderson under center, so after their Week 9 bye, Brady was named the team's starter yet again. He struggled mightily in his first game back, completing just 41% of his passes for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the following week, he put together the best game of his career, throwing for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. After that game, he had a few subpar performances, but suffered a Lisfranc injury in Week 14 that ended his season. Entering 2010, the Browns traded Brady Quinn to the Broncos for Peyton Hillis and a 6th-round pick. Brady competed with Kyle Orton for the starting job, but ultimately lost and was number 2 on the depth chart. However, Tim Tebow ended up replacing Orton and taking over as the team's starter, not Brady. After not playing a single game for the Broncos, Quinn spent the rest of his career bouncing around the league as a backup. The Eagles might have drafted the best quarterback of this class in the 2nd round, Kevin Kolb. For the first few years of his career, Kolb was Donovan McNabb's backup, but when Philly traded McNabb in 2010, Kolb was finally named the starter. After suffering a concussion in the first game of the season, Michael Vick took over the starting job and never gave it back to Kolb. In the spring of 2011, after Vick cemented himself as the team starter, the Eagles traded Kolb to the Cardinals for a 2nd-round pick and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. After a Week 1 win, the Cardinals lost 7 straight games with Kolb under center. He then suffered a foot injury and concussion that caused him to miss multiple games. Entering the following season, Kolb and John Skelton battled for Arizona's starting job, with Skelton coming out on top. In 2013, he signed a 3-year deal with the Bills, but after suffering his 3rd concussion during a preseason game, Kolb retired due to lingering symptoms. With the 40th overall pick, the Dolphins selected John Beck from BYU. Beck spent 6 years in the league as a backup, and of the 7 games he did end up starting, he lost every single one of them. Drew Stanton was selected 43rd overall in the 2nd round by the Lions. After spending the first 3 years of his career as a backup in Detroit, Stanton got to start multiple games in 2014 for an injured Carson Palmer in Arizona, and actually had a winning record. The only other quarterback in this draft class not to have a losing record was the 174th overall pick, Troy Smith, who had actually beat Brady Quinn out for the Heisman in 2006. After being selected by the Ravens in the 5th round, he was named the 3rd-string QB, but when the other 2 quarterbacks got injured, Troy got to start 2 games, winning one of them. Despite him not throwing an interception in his 2 starts, the Ravens decided to draft Joe Flacco in the 1st round of the 2008 draft. The second-to-last quarterback drafted in this class might have the biggest impact on the league today. Carson Palmer's little brother, Jordan Palmer, was drafted by Washington 205th overall. Jordan ended up playing just 5 games in his career, starting none of them, but has had much success as a coach since retiring. Currently, Palmer is one of the best quarterback trainers and has coached some of the top signal callers in the league right now, including Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and more.